The Toyota RAV4 Woodland goes hybrid and plug-in hybrid only for the 2026 model year for this new 6th generation of the Toyota RAV4. And in this video, I'll cover the exterior, the interior, take it for a drive and see what it's like out on the road, as well as talking about the kind of fuel economy you can expect. And so as far as the Woodland version here, well, it's a little bit more of a fully fledged thing here for the 2026s, where it has its own unique styling and some really cool unique colors. And the fact that, again, getting it as a plug-in hybrid is really cool too. So anyway, though, right up front there, you'll see that the Woodland is kind of positioned as one of the mid-grade trims. So it doesn't get like the high-end headlights you get in the top versions of the RAV4. So you'll see these headlights have the silver portions there, but they're not illuminated DRLs, and you don't have LEDs for the turn signals like you get on the higher versions of the RAV4 headlights. But otherwise, you do have an actual extra length of 1 inch here compared to the regular RAV4, because you have unique front and rear bumpers that are a little bit longer, and you can really see, especially the front end there, how it's a lot boxier for the Woodland, and that nose really does stick out a little bit more there. You also will see the standard Rigid Industries LED fog lamps you get here on the Woodland, and also a little bit of a faux kind of skid plate appearance thing there in the front. It doesn't actually have skid plates. This still is not quite as fully fledged as like, some of the crazier off-road competitors like the Subaru Forester Wilderness, but certainly still a nice improvement there, for those who are looking for this rugged look for sure. And then you'll see more of that rugged look here coming down to the sides, where you have these 18-inch wheels that are unique to the Woodland with all-terrain tires that are nice, knobby, Dunlop Grand Trek all-terrain tires here on this one, which is great. You'll see also the cladding that's a matte black here that's unique here for the Woodlands, but also you have these raised roof rails with crossbars, which are all standard as well. And that's a big difference over regular RAV4s that either have very little roof rails or none at all. And so the fact that this has that is one key difference, and certainly nice for those who want to load up that roof with all kinds of gear. And then going out to the back there, you'll see that you have a standard tow hitch on all of the Woodlands, and these will tow 3,500 pounds, which is a nice little improvement there too. And so great, you have that. Again, it's all nice and simple, all standard, no option boxes to check, and that's great. You also, of course, have the Woodland badge there, and the new back end we have here for this 6th generation RAV4 as well. And you do also have 8.5 inches of ground clearance, which is 0.4 more than a regular RAV4, and so that is mostly, I think, thanks to these tires, but certainly some extra capability there to make this a little bit more versatile off the beaten path than a regular RAV4. The interior of the RAV4 Woodland gets some really cool touches, and the whole 2026 RAV4 interior has been completely made over, and it's really nicely improved. Now, because we don't have any size changes here, interior space should be about the same as the last RAV4, so just keep that in mind. But if you're fine with the space in that one, you'll be fine with it here. But you'll see the orange accents and some of the unique touches here for the Woodland right away. But first thing, sitting down in these seats, you do have unique seats here. Now, it's just the seat skin that's just unique, but it's a really nice soft text, and these feel a tiny bit firmer than some of the other RAV4 trims in my opinion. But the main thing here is, you have the orange piping, the orange stitching, the unique pattern on them here, and they aren't perforated, which has its pros and cons. The pro is that these seats will be really easy to clean, and if you are actually doing adventuring where you're getting dirty and stuff, these will be super easy to wipe down, be a little more water resistant than, regular seats that have perforation or cloth or whatever. So that is very nice. What it does mean, though, is that if you are, in a hot area, or you're just hot in general, and then, the seat back doesn't breathe because you don't have any perforation, that can get a little hot. We don't have ventilated seats here in these. They do have heated seats, though, of course, and they also have all the usual power adjustments. You don't have memory seats for Woodland either, because it's, again, a little bit of a mid-grade trim, not high-end like some of the others. So you can get memory seats on other RAV4s, but not here on the Woodland. But, still really comfortable seats. Otherwise, just, again, be warned, you might be a little warm in these ones. But moving on to the steering wheel here, that is also unique here to the Woodland with the orange part at the bottom of it here. But otherwise, it's the same great Toyota wheel we have in other RAV4s here for 2026, with a great 9-3 grip and a nice little 10-2 notches and just a few buttons here on it, but nice and simple. We also have a driver monitoring sensor here in these, which is great. And so overall, a nice wheel. It's also a heated steering wheel in the Woodlands, which is nice because some of the other lower trims around the Woodland here don't have a heated wheel, so it's great you have that here in this. Now, moving on to the gauge cluster, all RAV4s for 2026 get a 12.3-inch display, and this one has that, of course, as well. And no unique touches here for the Woodland in this regard, but it is a really nice gauge cluster here. And on the left-hand side there, you can scroll through the usual kind of info you might be used to from other Toyotas of the past, and you can also change the look of them. So you have, you know, like the double pods, or you can have just a single one, or just a map view, which is an expanded map view compared to what you used to have in the digital clusters in RAV4s. And, you know, just a nice cluster. Now, it is a little less customizable. You don't have the themes you had in the old cluster where you could make it more rugged looking or more sporty. You can't do that anymore. You also can't change anything on the right-hand side there. That's always going to be the driver assistance stuff, which might not be the most useful if, you know, you aren't on the highway and you're not needing that, you know, but, you know, still great gauges. And even without a hood, though, they're nice and high contrast and high resolution. So I haven't so far had any issues with reading them. Legibility is fine. I know some people were concerned about not having a hood, but I think it's mostly okay. My whole day I've been driving these RAV4s without it, and it's fine. But I will have one of these for a week, hopefully eventually, to give you more thoughts over a longer period of time, but no complaints with that so far. Moving over to the middle of the dashboard here, the Woodland does get the smaller screen, which is standard on RAV4. Now it's a 10.5-inch touchscreen system. Now that used to be the top screen in the prior gen RAV4. Here, that's the lowest trim. And it's a really nice 10.5-inch screen. It's running the new infotainment software that Toyota is debuting here with RAV4. RAV4 is the first to get this in all of the Toyota lineup. It has these tiles you can customize and a nice home screen, which you didn't have on the last software. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto as standard. And there's some other really cool things here with this, but like it has a Sirius XM 360 now, and you also will see that you do have an ever-present row of climate controls at the bottom there, but you do still have hard buttons for changing, you know, the temperature and a few other basics. But, you know, even without having to dive into a submenu, you have fan speed control, again, those heated seats and heated steering wheel controls and all that within easy access. And it's a really well done system. I also love that it now has a drive recorder, which is a built-in dash cam, since this car has cameras like every car does in modern times. And Toyota is the first to really allow you to have access to those cameras outside of maybe Tesla. But, you know, Toyota is the first to just put that in this as standard, and so every single RAV4 has a dash cam built in. Save yourself a couple $100 having to buy one. You just have it here in this, and you can, you know, export clips there. And so if you're adventuring, you can manually record stuff if you'd like. And it's just fun to kind of have a built-in GoPro every time you're driving if you wanted to, you know, for adventures and stuff. And again, something that probably cost them very little, if anything at all, to incorporate. And I'm so glad that they did. And I hope other companies copy that down the road. But it's a really nice design for this screen. You know, the bezels aren't too big. Having the volume knob right in the middle makes it easy to access for driver and passenger. And just a really nicely done screen. Coming down beneath that screen, you have your two pods here for your various drive modes there. And also this shelf, which has a Qi wireless charging pad on the driver's side here. And a little tiny ridge to separate that from the other side, which is just a storage bin. If you go for the limited trim, you'll get double wireless charging pads, but here and all the other RAV4s is just the one there. And it's still not a great design for the wireless charging pad. It's smooth, and this is rough plastic, so it's not going to hold your phone in place very well. The best wireless charging pads are rubberized and have a raised surface. This has neither, and so yeah, just not ideal there. But you know, you do thankfully have plenty of USB-C jacks, and coming down you'll see double 45-watt high-speed USB-C jacks. Lower trims of RAV4s will get 15 watts for those. But you get 45 here in the Woodland, which is, again, brought down from those higher trims, and that's great. You also see, again, your 360 camera shortcut button there, and also your hill descent control, and also another nice large bin. And again, the bins, it's just, there's so much more volume to the bins than before. And I mean, this one, again, goes all the way to, you know, wrist deep here. And that one is a little bit rubberized, so that'll hold stuff in a little bit better. You also do have these two cup holders with the middle part that comes out. If you don't need them to be cup holders, you can, you know, fit something larger in there. You also see the center armrest that's unique. You'll see, of course, you have the orange here for the Woodland, but the top is rubberized a little bit and, you know, padded, but it's a little hard. I don't love it. It's not super comfortable, and it's also a little loose. The reason why is because it now opens up both on the driver's side and on the passenger side, but it also just comes out completely if you want. And then you have this other side, which has a storage kind of compartment on it as well, and you can pop that in. And then you have even more storage if that's something that you find yourself needing, amazingly, with all the other, abundance of storage in here. But, also just really cool to have that customization. And anyway, in the inside of that cubby there, you will see a USB-C jack and a regular power outlet in there as well. And, but yeah, this whole thing is a little loose. Hopefully this is pre-production. I'm hoping maybe that's a little tighter for the production versions. The other extra bins, you also have a gigantic bin in front of the passenger here, which has a little bit of a dish to it there, so you're able to hold stuff in nicely. And you also have really large grab handle areas where that can go, again, wrist deep as well in there. There's also a nice large pocket in the bottom of the door with a bottle holder. And on Woodland, you have also an exclusive extra little cubby. If you open up the door, you will see that little RAV4 area. You can open up that. I mean, it's very small. You can maybe fit like an LED light or something in there, but a nice little bit of extra space there too. So again, just boatloads of interior storage space. And I guess the message that the Toyota team got was people need to throw a ton of stuff in various cubbies, and they understood the assignment and they delivered with lots of cubbies here. But anyway, the final couple of things I mentioned before we go to the back seat are that since this is a mid-grade trim here, you don't get the upgraded JBL stereo available in the Woodlands here. That's only in higher trim. So you have a 6-speaker stereo as standard. Still has been completely fine. I've sampled it a little bit here today. Most bass stereos these days are still very good stereos, but the JBL will be a nice, 9-speaker, 3-speaker upgrade there. So, but just know you have to go to higher trims. You can't get it in Woodland, unfortunately. Another thing, unfortunately, that Woodland does not offer is a larger moonroof. You have a regular moonroof as an option here. This one has it. And it's nice to have, but for a vehicle where you're adventuring and probably bringing people in the backseat, having the large panoramic roof you get in XSE and limited trims would be really nice to even have as an option here, so that you can really take in your surroundings even better. Because that is something, for example, Forester has a larger moonroof than this, and it's really nice for adventuring. And so I wish they'd offer that. Maybe in the future they will. But for right now, just the regular moonroof. Now moving on to the back seat here in the Woodland. Again, you will see that unique seat pattern once again, and you will see when you look forward, they have 2 USB-C jacks and air vents. They also have a decent amount of legroom. I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I have about 2 inches or so of legroom to spare. Probably not best in class, but not worst either. And headroom is really good, especially when you don't have the moonroof. I mean, you have acres of space above you there, so that's great for tall folks. And there's also a fold-down center armrest with 2 cup holders built into it, and pockets in those doors as well, including, again, those very deep grab handles. Now, going on to the cargo space here in the RAV4, that's going to be, again, about the same space as the last generation. The unique touch here for the Woodland is that, first, all the rubber mats you see in this vehicle are standard, including in that back there. That's included with Woodland, which makes sense because you're going to want to get this thing dirty if you're going for a Woodland, I'm assuming, and having those is great. The other unique thing is that most other RAV4s just have a regular 12-volt socket there in the rear, but in this Woodland one, you have a 1500-watt regular household plug, which will be great for, camping, tailgating, things like that. Beneath the floor, you also will see that you have a spare tire. Even in the plug-in hybrid version, by the way, both hybrid and plug-in hybrid, you have a spare. And that's great because some other competitors, they say, oh, we can't have a spare tire because we have a hybrid, this, that, and the other. Not Toyota. They have designed it so that you can have both, and having a spare is really important, especially whenever you're adventuring. Having a nice large one here in the Woodland especially is great, and so really happy that they were able to retain that. But let's start up and go for a drive. So the RAV4s here have the new Toyota key, which is a really nice key. Just has your usual kind of buttons there on the front of it. On the back, it just says RAV4. But a nice, pretty small key and pretty durable, I'm sure, as well. The durability thing, too, I have to say, finally, before we start this up, is, all the plastics in here are mostly rougher and a little harder, not just for Woodland, but for all RAV4s. This is, again, pre-production. Maybe things will get a little bit nicer feeling for the production versions, but for Woodland, it makes sense because it's a rugged thing. You're probably not too picky, but in other RAV4s, or even if you are in a Woodland, you might actually want, something a little nicer. And there are some other competitors that have nicer materials, I will say. But anyway, so you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine or the power button here on these now since they're all hybrid, and it turns right on. And because it's a hybrid, oftentimes you won't have the gas engine kick on. It'll just give you the chimes and you'll be ready to go. All right, so setting off here in the RAV4 Woodland. So the first thing you notice about it, well, you have the same great visibility as all of these new gen RAV4s. Nice thin A-pillar, great view out. You also have a higher seating position, even with this seat being as low as it can possibly go. I'm only 5'9", and the dashboard feels very low. Everything is, set downward, so you're not looking up at a gauge plug cluster or anything. Like, it's very easy to see out, and that's great for adventuring especially. You also have very easy maneuverability because the Woodland comes with the 360 camera that's typically reserved for the higher up trims. You have it here on the Woodland, so if you're doing any kind of off-roading or venturing, you know, off the beaten path there, you know, you have the ability to see around you a lot better here, which is great. And starting off from a stop here, you have really nice throttle response here. We're in the hybrid version of the Woodland, by the way. There's also a plug-in hybrid available, and I'm not going to probably have time to, you know, spend some time with the plug-in hybrid version as well today, because we're driving lots of different RAV4s on this one drive program here today. But I did experience the plug-in hybrid in the GR Sport, and it's really nice. Here for the Woodland, you get 49 miles of electric range with that plug-in hybrid. Also, one of the other great things here that is a benefit for all 6th generation RAV4s is that you have more sound deadening. And we're on an especially noisy bridge right now, but as we go onto the regular highway, even at, you know, highway speeds here, you know, you hear it a little bit, but it's really not too bad. And so I'm just, you know, very impressed with the improvement they made to that. So there's new seals, so you have less wind noise. Even the side mirrors are redesigned compared to the last generation. They've been redesigned to give you less wind noise. And so it all just makes for a quieter cabin than the last generation RAV4. Now in this one, you will have a little bit more wind noise because these Woodlands, of course, come with that roof rack with the crossbars. That's going to, you know, definitely give you some more wind noise. So this will be the noisiest one of the bunch. But, you know, the impressive thing with the noisiness is the lack of noise from these tires. Even though we have these all-terrain knobby tires on here, honestly, I can't really tell a difference. Even driving the regular RAV4s back to back, you maybe have a little bit more road noise, but it is so minor that it's not worth even talking about, honestly. So if you are really wanting these tires, but you're nervous it's going to sound like some type of Wrangler or some, you know, noisy Jeep in here, not the case. Very nice and refined, very quiet, and you know, no compromise there really with the tires. Obviously, you get slightly lower fuel economy, but aside from that, there are no compromises here, and so it's great to have that extra capability and still be able to have a nice, quiet daily driver as well. Also, while we're out on the highway here, just very briefly, I'm going to discuss the fact that this has all the safety tech you want as standard. Adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, automatic emergency braking, you know, lane keeping assist. All of these things are all standard equipment here in all of these. No option boxes to check, no, you know, paying for extra packages. It's just all baked in, and I love that. It makes it nice and easy. And I've been playing around with this system in a variety of other, you know, RAV4s here today, and it works really well. It's the new Toyota Safety Sense 4.0, so it's better at detecting, you know, bicyclists and, you know, pedestrians, all those types of things, better than before, and you know, is all just, again, very well done. And the final safety thing to mention is that they've now added pre-tensioners and load limiters to the rear seat belts, and so that's going to give you a better performance in the new IIHS crash testing, where they often will be, you know, checking for rear seat occupant protection, especially among young kids, and, you know, how they do. And so that's been a recent focus of the IIHS, and so it's really great that this has made improvements so that we don't have crash testing, you know, info just yet here, but I'm assuming it will perform very well because, again, they did focus on improving that here and adding in those additions. But I'm going to go ahead and put it up into the sport drive mode here, and we'll turn down onto this highway and see how it accelerates. And here we go. Pretty nice and responsive there as everything comes online to give you the maximum amount of power possible. And it's a good amount of power, and also that engine is less noisy than before, again, thanks to the extra sound deadening here. So we're running the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4 cylinders, the 5th generation hybrid system here that's now in the RAV4, and so it does 226 horsepower for the front wheel drive ones, but here for the Woodland they are all wheel drive as standard, so that means you get 236 horsepower, and you know, 0 to 60 is gonna, you know, be probably somewhere in the, you know, 7 to 8 second range here, but it feels really good. And if you want more power, again, plug-in hybrid is where it's at. 324 horsepower in that one. Those will do a low 5 second 0 to 60 time. We got 5.34 in the GR Sport version. Might be a little slower for this with the tires on this one, but, you know, count on maybe a 5.5 second, you know, 0 to 60 there. Really cool. And again, you get 49 miles of electric range there in the Woodland plug-in hybrid, and that means you can basically drive it as an electric RAV4 for large amounts of time if you want. And it's really well done with how seamlessly it's all blended. But even just for the regular hybrids here, again, fantastic fuel economy while still having great ride comfort. Nice and stable out here on the highway too, even with, again, these tires not being quite as on-road focused as the other RAV4s. Still nice and sharp. And there's a little bit of lean there, and that's natural for tires like this. And now just slowing down for a turn here. One other thing is you now have a new electronic brake booster here in these, and so that's going to just give you extra efficiency. But it really just, I'm impressed that it's so smooth, it's so normal and natural feeling. Toyota does a great job. They obviously know what they're doing with hybrids, since they've been doing them longer than basically everybody here. And so it's just really nice as far as just all the driver inputs are very well done here. The other thing to mention here, the other driving thing really to mention, is going to be the all-wheel drive system here. So we have an all-wheel drive system still, even in the Woodlands here. And since they're all hybrid, that means you have an electric axle that's got about 89 pound-feet of torque, and so it'll give you that starting propulsion and getting you up and going. And it can stay fully charged as long as you need it. So the car is intelligent enough to know if you're climbing a snowy mountain for a half an hour straight, it will keep that motor juiced up and prioritize powering that back end whenever it knows you need it. Whenever you don't need it, it drops off. You go to front wheel drive, and then you have all the efficiency perks of a front wheel drive crossover here. And so it's going to be a little less capable if you are in deep snow and stuff, to not have a full 50% of your horsepower going to the rear. That is one of the perks of the new Forester Wilderness, although that doesn't come in a hybrid, but that has an actual all-wheel drive system, or even the Forester Hybrid does have that actual drive shaft, as does the CR-V and its new TrailSport version. So there are some others where, if that's the priority, is you're going to be always driving in deep snow or really deep mud or something like that, that might be an instance where that might be a little bit more beneficial than this system. But this system still should be fine for the average person that sees some dirt, some snow in the winter time. It can handle all that stuff, no problem whatsoever. And especially with these tires, you have even better traction, of course. I don't have time to do the off-road portion today. There was a little course they had for us, but the bottom line here, you do have a hill descent control, and you do have a trail mode in addition to a snow mode here. So you have some attempts there to improve things a little bit. You do also have more ground clearance, 8.5 inches. So that's certainly nice improvements here. But you don't have all the underbody protection you really need if you're doing any kind of intense off-roading, and so there's other things there where if you're going off-road, you're probably going to be wanting to look at something like a 4Runner or something else that's similar in size, but has that actual capability. But if you're just wanting a little bit more capability than a regular RAV4, this will be great. Fuel economy for the Woodland is rated at 41 mpg in the city, 36 on the highway, and I believe 39 combined. So that fuel economy is definitely going to be the lowest of all the RAV4s here, but that's the price you pay for these all-terrain tires. Now it's still, you're getting 41 mpg with all-terrain tires in the city, at least. That's still really good. And it's great that we have hybridization here with these rugged tires, because outside of, again, CR-V TrailSport, Subaru won't offer that combo, and others won't really as well. It's all just regular gas for all the others. So I love that we have hybrid. And also, again, if you want more efficiency, plug-in hybrid again kind of improves that greatly, again, because you have that actual electric range. And so yeah, otherwise though, the last thing to mention here is we don't know pricing at the time when we're filming this. These are going to go on sale for the hybrid version in December. For the plug-in hybrids, they're saying first quarter of 2026. I've heard even possibly spring of 2026. So a little bit of a wait for the plug-in hybrid if you're going to want that one. But as a result, we just don't have pricing for these yet. And so I can't really compare this to the other competitors because we don't have pricing. Obviously, like I mentioned, earlier, you have the all-wheel drive differences of this compared to the competitors, the offering of a hybrid, and especially the plug-in hybrid, that no one can match the plug-in hybrid with all-terrain tires here. So there are certainly some unique perks here to this. It'll just, again, it all comes down to pricing, and is it going to be worth a premium? Is how much of a premium is it? So stay tuned and subscribe. I'll have one of these for a week, and hopefully we'll have some pricing later on this year or early next year to finally be able to say for sure. But in the meantime, in a vacuum, this is very impressive, and it's really great that we have the Woodland still continuing. We know that the Woodland and all these off-roady trims are very much in vogue right now. A lot of people really want that extra capability or just the cool looks that you get with these rugged versions of these crossovers. And so I think that Toyota was kind of smart to, again, say it's okay to not have a full-time all-wheel drive system with a 50-50 power split, and for most people who don't even understand how that works, this is going to do everything that those other systems will do, and be completely fine, if you're not doing super challenging circumstances. And, again, this new Gen RAV4 is just so impressive in so many ways, like I mentioned, with the interior, the great new looks and the great refinements. But again, just the bottom line is that fuel efficiency is just, so much better and a lot improved over the others. So happy to see this here. And now for those, finally, I'll mention, who are maybe waiting for a TRD off-road trim, because that was something that was offered on the last Gen RAV4. They said there's not going to be any more TRDs for RAV4, because they're saying TRD is going to go as only body on frame stuff. So don't wait for that, because it's not coming. So if you want a rugged, RAV4, Woodland is, I think, all you're going to get here. So, take a Woodland and upgrade it as you see fit if you want, but just know, there is no TRD off-road around the corner, at least as far as right now. So anyway, but thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the RAV4 Woodland in the comments below. Huge thanks to Toyota for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. And yeah, be sure to watch the other RAV4 reviews if you want to hear my thoughts on the Sporty GR Sport version or on the regular RAV4s, where you see, again, some of those other extra features that you don't get here in the Woodland, to see whether or not it's something you want to miss out on. But anyway, so definitely check those out. Thank you all so much, though, for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.